Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kid Stories Podcast. I'm Phil Bechtel. Let's get into a shout-out. Ophelia is a big fan of the show. That's awesome to hear, Ophelia. I think if you were a character from the stories, you'd be a sun dragon, where whenever you were in the sun, you could turn into a dragon and your power would all come directly from the sunlight. Thanks for listening, Ophelia. Today, we revisit the Dropkick Sisters. Today's episode is titled Invisible Invasion, Part 1. Far from the valley, on the magical island of Catalba, Devni and Samaya were out on their usual patrol. The jungle was alive with the sounds of chittering chip-chip birds and the distant trumpeting of golden-tusked elephants. "Another quiet day," Devni said, swinging from a vine to land gracefully next to her sister. "Don't jinx it," Samaya said. "Remember what happened last time you said that?" Devni laughed. "How could I forget? We ended up chasing Bones Blackwell halfway across the island as elephants." As they continued their patrol, they came across a clearing where a group of Slime Bellies usually hung out. The sisters often checked on them as poachers sometimes tried to steal their protective sweat. "That's weird," Samaya said, her brow furrowing. "Where are all the Slime Bellies?" Devni looked around. "You're right. They're always here this time of day. Let's check the place out." The Dropkick Sisters began to search the area. They found some strange markings on the ground, some footprints, and some slime belly tracks that just seemed to stop. "Devni, look at this," Samaya called out. "These slime belly tracks, they just disappear. Look, it just stops." Devni jogged over to examine the tracks. "That's impossible. Unless what?" Samaya asked, raising an eyebrow. "Unless ghost poachers came with their ghosting magic and they turned the slime bellies into ghosts and they disappeared," Devni replied. Samaya rolled her eyes. "Uh-huh. Ghost poachers wouldn't leave any tracks at all, and I don't think ghost poachers are a thing anyway." Just then they heard a rustle in the bushes. Both sisters whirled around, ready for action. What emerged was not a poacher or a wild animal. It was Larry, the coconut farmer from Puka Puka. "Devni, Samaya, am I glad to see you two?" Larry panted, out of breath from running. "What's wrong, Larry?" Samaya asked. It's the animals," Larry gasped. "They're disappearing right before people's eyes. The whole town's in a panic. They're saying it's ghost poachers." "Told you," said Devni. Samaya rolled her eyes again, and without another word, the girls turned and raced to Puka Puka. As they entered the town, they could see the panic on everyone's faces. People were gathered in small groups, whispering and pointing at empty animal pens and vacant perches. "Moochie!" Devni called out to the restaurant owner. "What's going on?" Moochie ran over to them. "Oh, Dropkick Sisters, it's terrible. First, the chip-chip birds in the town square disappeared in a blink. And then, poof, the Butorns from the petting zoo vanished." "Well, did anybody see how it happened?" Samaya asked, already looking for clues. "Old man Jonah says he saw it happen to his pet slime belly," a voice piped up. It was Dunbar, the young wizard, approaching with a notebook in hand. "He said 1 second it was there, the next it was gone. No sound, no flash, nothing." Devni and Samaya exchanged glances. This was serious. "All right, we need to split up," Devni said decisively. "Samaya, you talk to old man Jonah. I'll check out the town square and the petting zoo. Dunbar, can you, I don't know, use some magic or something to get some clues?" Dunbar nodded eagerly, always excited to help the Dropkick Sisters. "I'm on it." As they were about to separate, a scream pierced the air. "Look! The BBQ Bees! No!" Everyone turned to see the town's prized barbecue beehive, usually buzzing in the background. But now the bees were vanishing, one by one, like soap bubbles popping in the air. Devni and Samaya sprinted toward the hive, but by the time they reached it, the last bee had disappeared. This is not okay, this is not okay, Samaya said. Who am I supposed to dropkick here? Devni said. Okay, relax, Samaya said to calm herself down. Okay. Is that helping? Just saying okay over and over again? Said Devni. We need a plan, said Samaya. We need a clue, said Devni. Let's just relax and look around by the BBQ beehive. There's gotta be something there. Devni, Samaya, and Dunbar got to work examining the entire area around the big BBQ beehive there in town. They roped off the area and spent hours looking for something, anything that would lead them to understand what was happening. The townspeople milled about, watching the girls work and trying to find clues as well. Think about the disappearing then, Samaya said, thinking out loud near Devni. Do we know any bad guys who can disappear? Like wizards or something? No. Maybe Dunbar knows some magic thing that makes people invisible or something, Devni added. But the only thing I know that can be invisible is the Rainbow Chameleons. Rainbow Chameleons! Samaya suddenly exclaimed, making Devni jump. What about 'em? Asked Devni. You think the Rainbow Chameleons are out here poaching animals? Remember that report from last month? About how some rainbow chameleons had gone missing from the southern jungle? Samaya was practically bouncing. Yeah, but we thought they just moved to a new area because of the drought, I know, but what if they didn't move? What if they were just the first animals to be taken? Samaya said. Devni caught on quick. Oh, and rainbow chameleons are known for their ability to change colors. More than that, came Dunbar's voice. Rainbow chameleons don't just change color. According to research, they can bend light around themselves because of their secretions. That's like being invisible, said Samaya. Wait, did you say secretions? Yes, it's like a goo that they leak from their skin, explained Dunbar. It's why rainbow chameleons look shiny sometimes. If they feel threatened or scared, they secrete the goo, and then they can go invisible. We need to get to the southern jungle, Devni declared. Fast. As they prepared to leave, Old Man Jonah hobbled over to them. Wait! There's something else you should know. Before my slime belly disappeared, I noticed something strange. There was this smell. It was like rotten mangoes and wet socks. Gross, said Devni, wrinkling her nose. Are you sure that wasn't just you, Old Man Jonah? Thank you for that information, Old Man Jonah, corrected Samaya. Thank you. That's useful. Now we know what to smell for. I'd rather not smell for anything, said Devni. You do the smelling. I'll stick to looking. The Dropkick Sisters set off toward the southern jungle, with Dunbar tagging along. The young wizard was excited to be a part of the action. As they traveled deeper into the jungle, the air grew thick and humid. They kept their noses alert for any sign of the strange smell old Jonah had described. Suddenly, Dunbar stopped in his tracks. Do you smell that? The sisters sniffed the air. There it was, rotten mangoes and wet socks. We're close, whispered Devni. They crept forward carefully, watching for any sign of movement or disturbance in the jungle. Then they saw it. Or, rather, didn't see it. There was a strange ripple in the air, like heat waves rising from hot pavement, but much more defined, like a blurry spot. There, Samaya pointed, but the ripple had already moved. They followed the disturbance to a small clearing and found what they had been looking for. A rainbow chameleon was perched on a branch. But it wasn't alone. Around it were several more ripples in the air, moving with purpose and precision. The poachers, Devni whispered. They're invisible. Before they could react, the rainbow chameleon let out a frightened squeak and vanished into thin air, along with the ripples. No! Samaya started to run forward, but Devni held her back. Wait, she said. Look at the ground. Where the chameleon had been were small drops of a shimmering liquid. Dunbar carefully collected some in a vial. "They're secretions," he said excitedly. "If I can analyze this, maybe I can figure out what's going on." But as they stood there, they heard a rustle in the bushes behind them. They spun around just in time to see a butthorn, one of the rhino-like creatures with a horn on its butt, standing at the edge of the clearing. Before their eyes, it began to fade away, becoming transparent, then invisible. "They're still here!" Devni shouted. "Spread out! Try to block their escape!" The sisters and Dunbar formed a triangle, but it was no use. They could hear footsteps all around them, but couldn't see anyone or anything. "Show yourselves!" yelled Devni, frustrated that she couldn't face her enemy. "Cowards!" "Enough yelling. Let's get back to town," Samaya said. "We need to analyze that goo and come up with a plan." As they headed back to Puka Puka, they could feel eyes watching them from the jungle. This invisible invasion was worse than they thought, and they needed to act fast before there were no visible animals left on Catalba. The end. Thanks for listening, friends. Just a reminder that I have lots of Kid Stories podcast stickers to give away. If you'd like some, just email me at kidstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Adios.